Bro, what was that?
But I don't know. I don't know.
It's okay.
But
What's up?
nothing much. What's going on?
Just want to respond to the prompt, I guess.
Okay.
So, like, two reasons. I think it's because we can explain most things without needing to invoke God. And I think the God of the Bible is pretty immoral.
Okay. So you don't believe that God exists?
No. Or, I mean, you can convince me a God exists, just not the Christian one.
Why not?
Um, I feel like the implications that come with saying something like a Christian God exists is that things like miracles happen and that like he's actively in modern day like life, and I just don't see that.
Um. So what would take? What would take it for you to get you to the other side? What would it take to get you to the other side?
Um, I mean, you can just give me some kind of either an argument or I don't know. You would have to demonstrate something like Jesus was God, um, something along those lines.
Yeah. Like how? How? What do you want me to? What would be
Uh,
evidence for you?
I mean, you can have. Let me think. Mm, well, would you just want to talk about if Jesus was God? You want to see
I,
if you can convince me of that, or
in all honesty, whatever is like your actual holding block, like the thing that's stopping you from becoming a Christian, we could talk about that. If that's
um,
Jesus being God, we could talk about that.
I mean, it's God is immoral. I think with all the properties of God too, with him being omnibenevolent, omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent. I think all of these properties are they just don't really make sense for that the world that we live in. You would just like if you take off like some of you have to tick some of those off for me to be convinced that something like that is like here. Like I like you can do you know what deism is?
Yeah.
You can convince me of deism, not like hardcore like Christian theism, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I think a good argument against deism, I use it against like dang near every atheist, but I think a good argument is the argument for motion, because the argument for motion argues that the unactualized actualizer is that which sustains existence right now. So God has to be an integral part of creation
Right.
in order for creation to exist at all, which would
Right.
throw deism out the window immediately because that's not the stance that deism holds. So therefore, you get to this place of theism, and it also gets into the attributes of God, like being all powerful, all good, and the things that you were going against as well.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think my refutation to that is with the you need an actualized mover and you need something to set the motion or the ball rolling. I hold to a B theory of time. So I think the universe was eternal. So I
That's
don't
yeah.
think that there needs to be like a first. I
No,
think
that's
it
fine.
just
So
is.
when we say first, we mean first in like order or rank, not first
Right.
in like time.
Oh, I see. I see.
Yeah, so you can believe, because like the people who put together this argument didn't think that from pure reason you can conclude that the universe is eternal or not. So
Right.
this argument doesn't hinge on whether or not the universe, you can hold to that, that's fine. It doesn't change the argument. So you could keep B theory, you could keep that the
Sure.
universe is eternal. It
Sure.
doesn't change the fact that change like exists. And when we
Yeah.
say first, we're talking about in like order of most importance.
Okay. Okay. So I think at this point you would need to convince me that the universe was created then.
You could believe the universe is eternal. It really doesn't matter. But I could convince you. I would have to convince you that the universe is not the unactualized actualizer. I could do that.
Sure, go for it.
Yeah. So to the unactualized actualizer is purely actual, which means that it doesn't change. The universe changes. Therefore, the universe is not the unactualized actualizer.
You're gonna have to run me through that one more time. I think I got lost
Okay.
somewhere. I feel like you leaped in
The
logic, or either that or I
un
wasn't tracking.
the unactualized actualizer
Okay.
is purely actual, which just means that it doesn't change or it doesn't change.
Right.
The universe undergoes change.
Right. I grant that.
Therefore, the universe is not the unactualized actualizer.
Well, yeah, I don't think it's like a thing that does something to itself. I think it just is.
That's cool, buddy. It's not the unactualized actualizer. So the
No.
thing that
Yeah,
we're
no.
yeah, so the thing that we're talking about is the unactualized actualizer.
Right. Aren't you trying to convince me of that thing though?
Yeah, so if it's you saying it sounds like you were familiar with the argument. Do you want me to go through the argument?
I guess. Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Change exists.
Right.
By change we mean the actualization of potential.
Uh.
So that
Okay.
means that things go from what they potentially could be to what they actually are. A seed potentially could be a tree, and that's different from when it's actually a tree. When it becomes a tree, that's change. Or
Hmm.
a pot of water that goes from being cold to hot, whatever the case may be, it's change. It's potential becoming actual.
Right.
So change exists. A potential cannot actualize itself. So like a pot of cold water is not going to make itself hot. Something already actual needs to bring it into actuality. It's like fire that's already actual. So nothing that changes, it changes by itself, but it's changed by something already actual.
Right.
Okay. This leads to a chain of actualizers, each depending to cause its change in the here and now. So right now.
Okay.
This chain of actualizers cannot go on infinitely because if it did, there would be no change. But change does exist.
Wait. Okay. You're gonna have to break that down on how if it goes on infinitely, there is no change. I don't understand that.
Yeah. So this is an analogy. Hopefully you'll be able to understand it. Uh, so pretty much everything in the chain relies on the thing prior to it right now for
Right.
its like sustaining actuality. So you could think of it like if I plug my phone into a charger, right? And I
Mhm.
plug my charger into an extension cord that's not plugged into the wall, will my phone ever be charged?
No.
What if I plug another extension cord that's not plugged into the wall?
No.
What if I do that infinitely? Will it ever be charged?
No.
Yeah. So what you're showing is that in this type of causal series, this is an analogy for the causal series. In this type of causal series, it has to terminate in something that's able to give or grant actuality and doesn't receive actuality. Just like in this analogy, um, the the extension cords, they get the actuality to charge a phone from the extension cord prior to it, but that has to terminate in a wall source or an original power source. So in the type of causal series that we're talking about, we're answering the question as to, or we say, hey, the phone is being charged right now. This can't go on forever. Therefore, it has to terminate in the first. Because if it went on forever, then the phone wouldn't be charged. But the phone is charged. Therefore, it terminates in the first.
I feel like I know where that's going, but I feel like that's disanalogous. Okay, well, it's not disanalogous, but I feel like that's just not how I think about time and what infinite regress is.
Well, we're not really talking about like time. So like there's two
I
different
mean, we're
types of
talking about infinite regress,
yeah,
no?
yeah, yeah. So
Right.
there's different types of series in regards to infinite regress. So
I
in
understand,
a
but it sounds like what you're talking about. All of these analogies kind of depend on finding some source. I don't think our
so in an
like what the
infinite
universe is needs a source, though.
brother, we're not talking about the like the beginning of the universe or something like that. Right. So
How so?
you have because you can't prove from pure reason that the universe is eternal or not. That's one of the first things that I said. So the people who put together this argument aren't trying to prove that the universe has a beginning.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Um, so you have a per accidents causal series, which
Mhm.
is like a causal series that you're talking about that can go on forever. There's no like real
Okay.
problem with that going on forever. That's like a grandfather causing a son that's causing you, that causes you. But after they cause you, you no longer depend on them right now for your existence. Right? That's like a chain of dominoes or something. Like, yeah, you depend on a thing prior to you, but after it happens, you no longer depend on them. That's called a per accidents causal series. And this
Okay.
causal series is called a per se causal series, where each thing in the chain immediately depends on the thing higher to it for its actualization right now. So there's a lot of different analogies for this. You could think of it, this is one that Thomas Aquinas uses. You could think of it as a hand pushing a stick to push a stone, or like if I were to push the camera, right? At the moment that my hand moves, the stick moves. At the moment that the stick moves and is touching the rock moves. If I drop the stick, the rock doesn't move. If my hand drops, the stick drops, right?
Hmm.
Everything in the chain depends on the thing prior to it right now. That doesn't go on forever, but it terminates in the first. That's the type of causal chain that we're talking about. So we're not talking about events going back in time. We're talking about the actualization of that potential right now.
Right.
Okay, so that type of causal chain can't go on forever, just like the extension cord analogy shows. So that type of causal chain terminates in a first. That's why this argument like kind of goes directly against deism as well, because you're talking about whatever is the first is the sustaining cause of everything else in the chain. It's that which sustains, just like the wall would be that which sustains the phone being charged, even though there's all these extension cords in the middle.
Okay.
So if we that goes to show that it has to terminate in a first, a being. This first is what will be known as purely actual, which means that it doesn't have any potential. If it had potential, it would be in the chain. This being its first, it doesn't have potential.
God
A
can't change.
You said what?
God doesn't change. He can't change.
No,
He can't.
no,
Are you sure?
yeah.
Or change? Okay. When you say change, or when you hear me say change, what do you think I'm saying when I'm saying change?
The actualization of potential, what we define change as.
Okay, sure. So you reject God changes?
Right.
Um, Pretty sure he does. Really early. It's pretty early in the books. No, it's in Exodus. No, when Moses takes the Israelites out of Egypt, they go on a mountain. Moses is on like inside a tabernacle talking with God, and then they look down on the Israelites after they already promised God with the Ten Commandments or whatever, that whole thing. They like him and God, and Moses and God are looking down at the Israelites, and they already built like a statue, like an idol, right? And so God is tweaking. God is tweaking. He's like, bro, I gotta smite these guys ASAP. Like they're already breaking the rules. And then Moses convinces God, no, you can't do that. You know, they just got out. You got to give them another chance.
Mm-hmm.
God is like, okay. You
Mm-hmm.
don't think that's an example of God changing from angry to now calm,
No,
or what?
we wouldn't even say that like God has passions like that. Uh, so
Really?
Yeah, so the way in which this is understood throughout the church and the tradition that's been passed down for over 1,000 years is
Uh-huh.
what's known as anthropomorphic language, which pretty much is like you give human characteristics to something that's not human. So to better help us understand that God decides to have this actual relationship with us, we use certain language that's understandable. So like when Moses intercedes for us, one, it's a typology of Christ. Um, to show that like we have there's someone who's going to intercede on our behalf, and two,
Uh-huh.
that God has this relationship with humankind where we like work with him in our salvation. Like the Eastern Orthodox call it like synergism. Um, but like we work out, like he's with us as we're working out our salvation. So when we go wrong, he doesn't just smite us down, but the person who mediates for us stands before God on our behalf, and therefore because of that mediator, we are able to miss judgment if we follow him and in his rules, which is why Moses goes down and gives the proper like way in which how they're supposed to live.
Right.
So we wouldn't say that like God has like passions like that. It just helps us like
Yeah.
understand because
I would completely reject that idea though. Are you Thomist by any chance?
I'm not a Thomist.
Okay. Yeah, no, I would reject that notion though, that he doesn't have passions. That sounds like a crazy statement. If he didn't have passions, then why make anything?
Yeah, so when you say that he doesn't have passions, passions are
No. Go ahead, go ahead.
what do you think that passions are?
Passions are desires that you want to actualize.
No, not yeah, so if that's what you mean, then no, that's not
Okay,
what
what
we
do you,
mean
what do
by
you mean when you say
passions.
passions?
Passions are like things that passions are like emotions that change by the actions of things external to you.
Oh, sure, yeah, that too. Yeah, absolutely. I can. Yeah, yeah. No, he
Yeah.
also does this as well. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, so we wouldn't say that like God has God doesn't change by the things external to him at all. Like,
Absolutely, he does. After that whole thing with the
well,
Israelites in
we
invading.
can
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
we could go into the Bible if you want after we get through the argument.
Oh, for sure. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. What were we talking about? We were talking about
So there's
infinite
this.
regress or whatever.
Well, we got past that. There's this first actualizer that's purely actual, and that's where we got into the
Sure.
and a being that's purely actual doesn't change.
Right.
A purely actual being is what we mean by God. Therefore, God exists. So
Yeah. No, I don't know. I don't know if I'm just slow right now. I'm a little bit distracted. I'm not gonna lie. I'm playing a game as I'm talking to you, so I don't know if I just can't follow the argument. If I'm just a
well,
little bit slow or
I don't know where
what.
you're getting I don't know where you're getting lost because
It sounds like.
you understood how
Yeah, go
infinite
ahead.
regress of this per se causal series can't go on forever but has to terminate in a first. This first,
Right. No, that's if you presuppose that that's how the universe works, though. No?
no, no.
What do you mean no? Do you not presuppose that the universe was actualized?
That the universe
Is
is
that
being
not your
sustained.
presupposition? Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Do you not presuppose that?
But we're not never once have I said anything about the universe. I haven't said anything about the
If
universe.
we're talking about is your analogy not in reference to the universe?
Like in reference to everyday life that you see.
Just everything. Are we not talking about like generally just like everything and like how like cause and effect more or less?
I mean, for the most part,
Right. So this would follow onto just like ontology, right?
you don't have to say like for this argument that the universe has a beginning. I keep saying that. Like you keep trying to hinge on that point. I said, bro, you can say that the universe is eternal. I don't care.
Right, but you're trying to say that it's sustained by something because it was there first, no?
When you say first, when we're saying first, we're talking about in order of rank or preeminence, not in order of time.
Okay, I think that's where I'm getting lost then. I'm super lost there. So then what's the point? Or no, yeah, no, I still don't I don't think I can follow, bro. I think I'm just too slow for this argument. I don't know.
I don't think you are. I think you're seeing where it concludes and it kind of scares you that
No,
there's an
not no.
actual
I'm
argument that God
actually
exists.
lost on what you're saying. You're saying that this is your argument as I understand it. It's I think it's that analogy, the analogy that you use with the daisy chaining with the chargers. That is what loses me. is then when you use that analogy to say that God is sustaining everything, that although that we aren't dependent on this entity, is that it's necessary though. Like that's what I'm getting.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm like super lost with what you're saying, like at the end.
Okay. So it seems like you understood it just a second ago with
Right.
the daisy chaining thing of what you just
Right.
said, right?
Right.
If I plug my phone into a charger that's plugged into an extension cord, you said that even there be infinite number of extension cords, if it's never plugged into a power source, your phone will never be charged.
Correct.
But I see that my phone is charged. What does that mean?
Okay. That means that there is a power source somewhere.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
That's all. That's going to be shown there. Oh,
Okay.
there is a power source. So now we're talking about this pretty much this power source, right? This thing that's first in the chain, by like preeminence, right? Like in order. The same way that like if I'm pointing at the chandelier, the first chain is not in order of time, but in order of the first one that's attached to the roof, right?
See, I can't. Okay, that's where you're losing me. Is when you say that there's somehow a power source, but when we look back, they're not connected into anything.
No, we don't need to use first. We don't even need to use first.
Okay, yeah, don't use that word. That word confuses me.
Okay, so the power source. This
Correct.
power source is what's known as the unactualized actualizer.
You're losing me, man.
That's the power. So the power source is purely actual, which means that it doesn't have any potential to change. That's it. The power source in this chain is purely actual. It does not have the potential to change.
Okay. I understand that.
Okay.
Okay.
A being that is purely actual, or an existence that is purely actual, is what we mean by God.
Right.
Therefore, God exists.
No, I don't. That's a leap. I feel like you're leaping. I feel like that's a leap. I might just be super omega.
So you're just
ultra slow.
Are you saying that you just reject the conclusion?
I reject. I don't. Give me P1, P2, P3. Conclude. Syllogize it.
Okay. Change exists. P1.
Okay.
Change exists, and by change we mean the actualization of potential. Okay.
Hold on, bro. Let me get my notepad out, bro. Hold on. Okay. P1 change exists.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. P2.
But a potential can't actualize itself. Only something already actual can bring about. You want me to just put it on the screen for you so you can read it?
You already got it? Yeah, for sure. You already have it.
Yeah. I'll pull it up.
What game is he playing? I'm playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel.
Type.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Oh, here you go.
So change exists.
Mhm.
Some things go from potential to actual. But potential cannot actualize itself. Only something already actual can bring about actuality. Therefore, whatever changes is actualized by something else. This leads to a chain of actualizers, each depending on something else to cause its change here and now. An infinite chain of such actualizers is impossible because without a first actualizer, nothing could be actualized. But change does occur, so the chain must terminate in a first actualizer. This first actualizer must have no potential. It is pure actuality, not itself caused or changed by anything else. A being of pure actuality is what we mean by God. Therefore, God exists.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with P5.
Okay, what's your problem with P5?
When I hear first actualizer, is that not the first thing to set something in motion? Like the first action.
Like in
Just
time?
Yes.
It's not It's not necessarily linked to time.
How so? You're gonna have to break that one down to me.
Okay, here. So you see the second, my fault. You see the second definition of first?
No, it's ultra blurry. Okay, there you go. Foremost position, rank, or importance. I feel like what you're using in your premise doesn't support. If you're using that definition for what it is in your premise, then it just doesn't follow. That makes no sense.
What doesn't make sense?
First in rank, but with the rest of the language in there, and you're talking about what's being actualized and what else is affecting. Like you're straight up talking about cause and effect. You can't have cause and effect and change without time. Time is necessary for change. So if you're talking about first, that would
So
have to be the first action.
Time would be the measurement of change. I don't necessarily disagree with that, but we're talking about it like what's known as like a simultaneous change. So, or a sustaining change, or sustaining cause. So you're talking about that which is actualizing things right now, not in events in the past. So we're not talking about dominoes getting pushed over and then like what event caused the dominoes to get pushed over. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about that which sustains everything right now. So like why is my phone charged right now?
Oh, okay. To follow with the domino analogy, you don't even think that the dominoes have fell. You think that we're still on like the first domino? Like no dominoes have
No,
fell.
that's another type of causal series. I'm saying that we're not talking about that type of thing. I'm talking about bro changes his wallpaper every day. No, it changes every time I press it. Okay.
I think it's just the way you're using the language, dude. I'm so naturalist and the way my brain works is super dependent on like time. Like I don't know how else to explain that. And so what you're saying, it just I think it doesn't follow. I might just be super slow. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. If you want to pivot to something else, we absolutely can. But I don't think I can follow this argument if you're going to use that definition of first.
So
So
here,
like
if I sit here and hold on, I'll do this for you.
Go ahead. Do it for me.
Pause, bro. Chill.
Hey, chill on me. Hey, chill on me.
Chill. All right. So look, I take my chain off, right? Do you
Right.
see?
I'm seeing the links.
Yeah. You see the link?
Okay.
What's the first link that's on this chain?
That I forget the clip.
Yeah. You see how that's the first thing?
Right.
But it doesn't come like first in time. It's just first in rank or in order.
Right. But we're talking about cause and effect.
Okay, so the thing that causes, so I'm hanging it, right?
Right.
The thing that causes this clip right here, the second one, right?
Okay.
To hang, right, is the one before it. And
Right.
that's the one before it and the one before it and so on and so on and so on. It directly depends on the thing prior to it right now.
Right.
So it depends on the thing prior to it, but you still have a first in this chain. You have a first.
Okay, so the first does not mean first action. It does not mean that. Just to be ultra clear.
When you're saying the first actualizer, you're just talking about the first in the chain.
Okay. So like I said, not the first action, not the first thing that happened that made the ball go rolling, right?
Yeah, because we're not talking about an event in the past.
Okay. I feel like the language that you're using in P5 is super duper ultra omega fucking like, oh, can I cuss on here? Sorry. Is this like uber Christian?
It's super Christian, bro.
Oh, sorry, bro. My bad. My fault. Yeah, I feel like the language in P5 heavily implies time. Super. I don't think we're gonna get past this if we're not talking on a sense of time and cause and effect. Because I can agree with you that the current moment right now can't happen without the previous moment that happened before it. Everything that's happening now is from everything that happened before. I can agree with that. I understand that.
Well, I'm not
But
saying. So I'm saying the thing that we're saying is when I take this pin,
mm,
right, to move my camera,
right,
all of that is happening at the same time. At the time that I move, at the moment that I move my hand, the pin moves,
correct.
right? That's the type of causal series that we're talking about. So notice in P4, right,
Okay.
where it says that this leads to a chain of actualizers, uh, each depending on something else to cause its change in the here and now.
Right.
This is like the hand moving the pin. If we're talking about right now. So it's not like my hand moves first and then the pin. No, it's all happening right now. The thing that's sustaining the pin to sit 2 feet above my desk is my hand. If I remove the hand, the pin immediately drops. The pin,
Ah,
the pin,
I understand that. Okay, I understand that. Then it sounds like okay. So I, I understand that. That makes sense. That makes sense.
okay.
It's the language used for what we're describing or what we're talking about sounds heavily time implied. So I can grant this. Sure. I'll grant this whole argument.
Okay.
Why not? Why I'll go for it.
Okay.
What does it? Wait. Okay. That has. Wait. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Sure.
No.
Yeah. No, I can grant that. I can grant that. I just don't. I can grant it. I'm not gonna believe in that though. Does that make sense? Like I can
No,
grant that.
I mean, I guess, but
Like no, the
if the
argument makes
argument,
sense. If we're
yeah,
talking about it like that, no, that argument follows. Sure.
yeah, if the argument
Why?
logically
Why not?
follows, if the
Sure.
argument logically follows, I don't know why
Yeah,
you just
absolutely. Okay, for that, sure. But I don't think if you want to do all that, then it's gonna come down to the morality of the Christian God and all of the other stuff that kind of follows from that. Then sure, I can agree with that. That makes sense.
okay. So, well, so now we're on into like a theist type of God, though. Um,
Sure. I don't think I have to worship something like that though.
okay. So now we could get into like, I mean, to me, I was thinking about this when I went live last time. Is that like somebody came up and they were like arguing about like different problems or things that they had with the Bible. But the
Mhm.
truth of the matter is like if Christ really rose from the dead, then your opinion on like the things that happened in the Old Testament doesn't really matter. Like you have to like look at it from the objective standpoint now of the facts that you have that God is real and Christ is God and he proved that through his death and resurrection. So
Sure.
if God is real and Christianity is true, then you look at the Old Testament through that lens of which
Okay, but I feel like at that point you would have to grant God changes though. You would have to grant that. Have to grant that.
no, so there's a lot of writings that like really go into to God not changing and explaining these things from the Christian perspective. But we could talk about Christ's death and his resurrection because if Christ rose from the dead, then Christianity is true. And we take the Old Testament as authoritative because Christ did. So Christianity has a
Sure.
historical claim, which is why like there's only like really three religions that's really taken serious in academia. It's because they like talk about historical figures.
The Abrahamics.
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, so Christianity makes a historical claim. It like in order to disprove it, you would have to use history in order to
Sure.
disprove it, or to prove it. So I think historically speaking, the thing that best explains the evidence is Christ's resurrection.
Right.
Um, and if Christ rose from the dead, then Christianity is true.
Okay. I reject Christ rising from the dead.
Okay,
It's who is it? Talk about the 500 witnesses.
Paul.
Paul. I mean, Paul never met Jesus. I don't think you could name any of the 500 witnesses,
Mm-hmm.
or anyone that got martyred for. I think what it took to be a Christian back then is probably different than what it takes to be a Christian now. So I think you would have to demonstrate either like one of the witnesses or someone at that time being martyred for Christ's resurrection. I don't think that's the case.
Well, you have Stephen.
Who's Stephen?
Is the first martyr, and it's detailed in a document in the first century who goes on to die for the resurrection of Christ.
Offers wisdom and teaching.
All right, so while he looks at
Declare Jesus standing at the right hand of God.
you said what?
I'm reading out the Google thing for Stephen, but I'm not seeing the part where he
That's tough.
died for the resurrection, though.
The first martyr, Stephen?
Yeah, I'm not. It's not saying that like in my face that it's.
Yeah. So, hello? Hello? Hello?
Or you could just name.
You cut out. Hello?
Oh, bro, my someone was calling me.
Oh, okay. So here, so you just go to like Saint Stephen, or you could literally look up. What I looked up was first martyr, and Stephen was the first thing that popped up.
Right.
He dies between ages 33 and 36.
Okay.
Around I think it was 34 AD is when he died. He's talked about in the book of the Acts of the Apostles in Acts chapter 6.
Right.
And you can hold up. You can literally see you could see the detail of his death. You want me to go to it?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Am I blind? Commentary tomb. In the Eastern. I might be silly. I'm not seeing it. I might be a goose.
Okay, so so in Acts chapter 6, right?
Okay.
This is where you get Stephen. Stephen is then arrested, right?
Okay.
So Stephen is preaching the resurrection of Christ. Okay, and this is what you see here. So the 7 choose to serve. He's preaching.
No, I can't. You're using Bible to prove Bible?
No, so Stephen is, well, do you know what the Bible is?
I mean, it's a historical document, sure. It's a collective of books. It's a collective of history, correct?
Yeah, so
Right.
this is actual, like, it's obviously, like you said, in historical text. Stephen is an actual person that actually died. And
No, I understand that. I understand that.
yeah. So all I'm saying is that Stephen goes on to be stoned to death. He's one of the first people who is stoned to death for the resurrection of Christ. And you have like
Sure.
Stephen's speech and then his stoning in Acts chapter 7.
Dude, this would be so good if it was. I can't. It's outside of the Bible. I can't use Bible.
You want something outside of the Bible that shows that,
Yeah,
like,
sure. The resurrection, absolutely, absolutely. I can't take inside Bible for Bible. If that makes sense.
So I mean, this is the writings of Josephus.
Oh, for sure. No, I can grant Jesus is real. I don't think Josephus claimed that he was someone that did miracle, or he said
Yeah, he
people
does.
said he would do miracles. Yeah. He said people said he did miracles. He didn't say that he rose from the dead as fact, though. No,
Yeah, so
he was just saying
what's
what the Jews were saying at the time, right?
not really. Well, it
As I
depends.
understand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it depends. It depends. So like, What
Him
he
and what
says
was
is,
the other one? Tacitus, I think, right?
yeah,
Tacitus.
Tacitus, Pliny the Younger, Celsus, they all talk
Yeah,
about
yeah,
Christ. Um,
yeah. No, I
what's the
don't.
name?
I don't think in Josephus's thing though he's saying Jesus is the Son of God and that he rose. He's just saying this is what people are saying about
Yeah,
Jesus.
so the people who say those things, right, are the people who saw them and then they believe the things that they saw and they went on to die for those things. You
Right.
specifically said that you don't want their testimony. You want other people's testimony
Yeah.
who just don't believe.
Right.
So this is their testimony of those who don't believe. So we wouldn't expect him to say things like, "Oh, he is the Son of God," because then you wouldn't accept that, and then you would not believe his testimony. So what he does say is what's necessary for the minimal facts argument, which is that there was a certain Jesus. He was a doer of incredible deeds. Um, what's the name? He bought over many from among the Jews and many from among the Greeks. He was thought to be the Christ. And when Pilate had condemned him to the cross at the accusation of the first men among us, those who at first were devoted to him did not cease to be so. For on the third day it seemed to them that he was alive again, given that the divine prophets had spoken of such things and thousands of other wonderful things about him. And up until now, the tribe of the Christians who were named after him has not disappeared. Now, Josephus also goes to talk about the brother of Jesus who was martyred. And he was displeased with the fact that the brother of Jesus was martyred for his faith.
Okay.
So you have really good, I would say, historical evidence for the minimal facts argument, which is that we know that Christ died by crucifixion. His disciples believed to have seen him risen from the dead. James is the brother of Jesus. B.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
what's the name? Uh, his disciples believed to see him after we know that he was dead. Some enemies believe to have seen him after we know that he was dead, and the tomb is empty. And I would say that the only thing that best accounts for all of these facts is Christ's actual resurrection. I think every other explanation falls short.
Right. Okay. So I looked up when Josephus wrote about Jesus. It's in
The antiquities?
93 to 94 AD.
Yeah.
This is about right after the book of Luke, no? Like
Mm,
right after that book was
no, I
written?
would no, I
In the
would
gospel?
argue no, I would argue that Luke is written way before that. Way
No,
before.
really? I thought he
Way
was the
before.
last one. I thought Luke was like the last one.
No,
Or am I thinking of John?
John is the
John is the last
last
one?
gospel. Yeah.
Okay, my bad, my bad.
Luke is written way before that.
Okay, hold on. No, I'm thinking of John. When was year 90?
What is?
Book of John?
That's what they say. I think it's still written before that too, but that's what they try to say. But Luke is written like I would say before the 62
Yeah, yeah,
AD.
yeah. I was just trying to map it out to when the most recent one was.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
so
Josephus is
my whole thing with Jesus rising is because it's super tentative, and you don't really hear anything about it until the Gospels and that stuff with Paul, like 30 years after he died. No.
no, so like one of the earliest attestations that we have is a creed that's actually recited in
On
First
the Apostles'
Corinthians.
Creed, right?
Yeah, that First Corinthians 15, which dates to as early as a couple of months. Um, you have this widespread belief after Christ rises from the dead, obviously, that um, that Christ rose from the dead. And people go on to spread this throughout the world. So Christianity spreads fairly fast, which is another evidence, but it's not necessary for the minimal facts argument. Um,
Right.
but that's another piece of evidence that these people did actually believe that they saw something. So you do have a lot of first century documents that are talking about this group called the Christians, which arise out of nowhere. And you have this figure named Jesus who is written about just as much as the emperor at that time. So
Right.
you have this, this uh carpenter, this Jewish carpenter who's written about just as much as the most powerful person at that time. So these people
Am I
who
silly? Which one? Which one's the carpenter again? Which apostle?
Jesus is the carpenter.
Oh, Jesus was. Oh, I'm silly. I thought wasn't there another one that was a carpenter? Or am I silly?
I don't know any other that was a carpenter. They had fishermen, tax collectors, and stuff like that.
Right. Okay. Okay. Right.
Um,
My bad.
but yeah, so you have multiple people who claim to have seen Christ, and they write about his life. Those documents that were around in the first century get compiled, and we hold those teachings as authoritative. So now, like in any other context, those would just be historical documents. But now, because Christians hold them as authoritative in scripture, people like to throw it out as though these aren't just people who wrote down things in the first century, but they are people who wrote down things in the first century of the experiences that they claim to have.
No, I
So,
understand that. Okay.
yeah.
So as I understand it, none of these claims were written out until 30 years after Jesus' death, though.
No.
I mean, the book of Acts, what you're using for Stephen, right? That's 30 years after Jesus' death. Jesus died in the year 33, 34, right?
Yeah, between 30. I mean, I would say between 20 and 30 years.
Right.
Because
But
I think
I
Acts is written before the death of James, and James dies in 62 AD.
right. But yes, I mean, even then, that's when Paul was writing all of his books too, no?
No, so like I think one of the earliest epistles is written in the 40s for Paul.
And I hate talking about this stuff because it's super tentative, right? So it's just
No, I understand.
Thessalonians in the year 50, 48, the
Yeah,
earliest.
48.
Dude, I don't know. Okay, no, I can understand Josephus writing about it because everyone's talking about it and it's super, crazy
Well,
popular.
that's not really why Josephus wrote about it. So Josephus is writing about pretty much what leads to the destruction of the second temple, and he kind of writes about Jesus as a secondary thought because he wants to
Right.
talk about James. But in order to talk about James, you have to talk about his brother Jesus,
Right.
and like what kind of leads to all this tension. So he talks about Jesus. He like briefly brings up Jesus, like, hey, this is Jesus. This is what he did. This is what happened. And then you
Right.
still have these group of Christians. And then later on in chapter 20, he talks about James and what he feels like is an injustice of what happens to him within the Sanhedrin there. And all of that pressure of people trying to take power kind of leads to the debacle of the Jewish temple. So that's what Josephus is talking about. In the middle of him giving that history, he talks about Jesus and he talks about James.
Okay. Dude, it's because I know around this time, like Near Eastern, they were super into like what's the word? It's like doomsday stuff.
Apocalyptic.
I can't even say the word apocalypticism. They were super into that stuff, and that's what made like the book of Revelation and whatnot.
Well, that doesn't, I'm saying in regards to the argument for the resurrection,
Right.
that doesn't matter. So we have obviously the biblical evidence, which would be people who actually saw Christ and they say that they rose from the dead, and we have their testimony. But if you don't want to accept that, we even have people who are against Christ talking about these things. So all we need to do is, okay, what we know as like a fact, and then what's the best explanation for these facts. And I'm saying that the best explanation for these facts, that we know that Christ died, we know that his disciples believed to see him after, we know that his enemies believed to see him after, and the tomb being empty. I'm saying that the thing that best explains these facts is the resurrection. I think every other hypothesis falls short. And then on that conclusion, I'm saying that if Christ rose from the dead, then
Right.
Christianity is true. Christ rose from the dead, therefore
Right.
Christianity is true.
I can grant most of that. I think what you said about the hypothesis. I mean, we can compare hypotheses. I just feel like oh, what was I gonna say?
Well, I mean, you've been up here for 50 minutes. Why don't you
Oh, have I?
yeah. But I've thoroughly enjoyed the
Yeah,
conversation.
no, that was a pretty good discussion, dude.
Look
If you want to have
into
someone
it.
else up here, go ahead. But
No,
yeah,
I'm saying like look into it more, because if Christ rose from the dead, then that's the most important thing,
okay.
right?
It's because I usually do like a philosophical, like meta ethics argument. I wasn't ready to do history, but yeah, no, I'll look more into it for sure.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you, bro, and feel free to come back whenever, bro. God bless you, man.
Absolutely. Yeah, you have a good one, dude.